All right, all right, all right. Welcome back. Are we rolling? I think we're rolling. Shout out to everyone out there and welcome back to another video, another live stream, another topic, another question to discuss and answer and talk about. As you guys already know how we do here, you guys ask me the questions, I answer them, about any topic, but usually topics that have to do with living in Mexico, living in Merida, in the Yucatan, and all that good stuff. So welcome back, everybody. All right. Hope you guys are ready to talk food. Sorry, I got to do more of those voice exercises. I used to remember when I was a kid, I used to laugh, when I used to hear like, oh, Mariah Carey or whoever, they used to do all these exercises for their vocal cords and their voice and drinking the teas. I'm out here drinking, what is this? To make their voices better so they can, what does it last longer voice-wise? And it's funny how I often sometimes, see myself in that same situation these days. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into it. All right. I know what you guys tuned in for. You guys tuned in to talk about food, not, I hear about my vocal cords or my voice. It also doesn't help that I like to smoke and partake, in libations, right, on a regular basis. But all right, let's get into it. So the question today is brought to us by Nancy. Shout out to Nancy out there. She simply wants to know, what is my favorite Yucatecan dish and restaurant? Okay, so we're going to go off with that, okay? Now, before I say anything, in the past I've made videos talking about, the things that I love about this region, the things that I hate about this region. And one of the things that I mentioned about one of the things that I didn't like about this region was the food. But ever since I made that video, it's actually been the best thing ever, because now everyone that I've met that is from here that has seen that video is always, trying to show me their best, to prove me wrong. And boy, have I been proven wrong. So the Yucatecan cuisine, the cuisine out here is amazing. It's great. It is very different than the rest of Mexico, that is for sure, but it's amazing cuisine. Now, speaking as a chef, the reason why for the first years that I was here, I couldn't really find any good Yucatecan food was because, well, I wasn't finding it prepared properly or good or what have you. And so that's why I was lacking. And it kind of, I wasn't, I didn't have the greatest or best impression of the food out here. But once I was having real Yucatecan food, real, local cuisine, that's it. My mind was blown, and it is amazing. I love it. So we're going to be talking about some of my favorite, first of all, my favorite dish, some of my other favorite dishes, and, we're going to go on from there, talk about Mexican food, talk about other food. It's all food talk today. All right. So we're going to stick to Yucatan and Mexico, but we're going to talk about any kind of food. So any food related questions you got, don't worry. Nancy paid for the questions, so you guys can ask any food related questions you want. Okay. You guys have got me. Might as well take advantage of it. All right. All right. So remember, ask a chef. You can go with that as well. All right. So let's see. My favorite food, my favorite real all-time, favorite food in the Yucatan is cochinita pibil. And what is cochinita pibil? It's the cochinita. Man, I should have had some pictures. Jeez, hold on a second. I'll get some pictures so that way you guys can see what I'm talking about. Right? I'm sure that'll help. Una segundo, por favor. Hold on. In fact, while I get that ready. So just to add more pressure. Hey, what happened? Oh, shout out to Teresa for the $2. There we go. Okay, now how do I turn this off? Okay, so my favorite, my favorite all-time, dish out here is the one that's all the way top. Yeah, I can't show you my cursor, but top middle, okay? So I don't know if you guys can see the one with the top middle with the lime. You see it right there. Wait, am I doing it right? All right, anyways. So that one, that is cochinita pibil. So what is it? It's basically roast pork, all right? But they get the pork. It's basically they do the whole pig or they do part of the pig, like the pork butt, whatever, like think of barbecue. And they slow cook it underground. So basically they season it with a bunch of local ingredients like achote, salt, pepper, oregano, sour orange, which is an orange that is typical to this region, the Caribbean. I used to use it in Cuban cuisine. We use it there. Anyway, so a bunch of the local ingredients, they mix them together, they season it with that, and then they wrap them, I think, in banana leaves, and then they cook it underground. And then, once they bring out that pork, and then basically it's like pulled pork, just think of pulled pork sandwiches, just pulled pork with his own juices and yumminess, and then they just serve it with the taco, a little lime, a little red onion, and you're good to go. Good to go. I prefer to eat it in a torta because, I love sandwiches. I'm not a taco guy. I mean, I love tacos, but I'm not a tortilla guy. I'll have a taco from time to time, whatever. I love tacos. I'm in Mexico, but I'm a torta guy, and tortas are sandwiches, all right? So bread. So basically, I as a Cuban, all right, I prefer to get it in the bread, and I just eat that, and it's like so good, so good. One of my all-time, in fact, my all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorites. The thing is that it varies, I don't really have an all-time favorite per se, but that's one of my favorites. In fact, that's what I had at my wedding, all right? So when I had to choose and pick, hey, what are we gonna have at the wedding? That's what we wanted. That's what we got. Okay, so we got cochinita. Why? Because in this region, every region of Mexico has different. By the way, shout out to Teresa with the $2. I don't know if I already said thanks or not yet, but anyways, every region has their hangover food. As you know, Mexicans work hard, party harder. So when they wake up from their drunken stupor, the next day before they got to go to church, they go get cochinita pibil. So they wake up and they have the greasiest, porkiest tacos or sandwiches like at, 6, 7 in the morning before they go to church. You know what I mean? And then, there's something that you're going to eat. If you're drunk, you want something that's greasy and fatty and things like that. Even though it's not that greasy or fatty, but it is, it's pretty strong. I prefer to eat it later in the day, but it definitely fits perfectly, after a hangover or before, before the hangover type of thing. But anyways, cochinita pibil is one of my favorites. Now, a close second is lechon. And so what is lechon? Well, basically it's the same thing, but without all that seasoning. And basically it's just a roast pig. And, that's it. That's really what it is. It's just a little bit of different seasoning. But lechon is basically very similar, if not almost the same, to Cuban lechon, Cuban cuisine, Cuban whatever. So in Cuba and in Miami, one of the all-time favorite dishes that I had that I love so much was pan con lechon, which is bread, a pork sandwich. And basically it's roast pork. Okay, so imagine, a giant roast pig, and then you chop it all up, mix it all together, put it on some bread, put some onions, put a little mojito, pan con lechon. Amazing. But the Yucatecan version is like that, but a little different. They do their own version of, the onions and the stuff that they put on top of the lechon. Makes sense? All right, sorry, I just keep looking out, making sure, there's no rain coming. So lechon, is great. So lechon tacos, pan, where they have torta de lechon. The Cuban version is pan con lechon, same thing. But anyways, cochinita, lechon. And then number 3, pork chook. Basically, it's just, grilled pork. So they get pork. So that's so that's the bottom right, okay? I mean, all the way at the bottom middle. Bottom middle. The bottom middle is pork chook. And basically what it is they get the pork, they marinate it, they make it into thin steaks, okay? And then they marinate it with some, again, citrus. Usually it's sour orange. In fact, it is sour orange. That's the only citrus so sour orange, salt, pepper, oregano, and I don't know what else, whatever other magic, Yucatecan spices. And then they grill it. So that's another thing too. I used to get like pork chook, but they would just make it in, some restaurant, a flat top, and I was like, this is all right. But then when you have it the proper way and it's grilled, okay, now we're talking. So those are my all-time 3 favorite dishes. Which again, they're all pork. Okay. Keeping an eye out there, for the rain. It's all right. All right, I know. This is the worst. So basically, cochinita pibil. By the way, I want to ask you guys out there in the audience, what is your favorite Yucatecan dish? What is your favorite Yucatecan food or favorite Mexican food? Let me know. Let's talk about it. But long story short, cochinita pibil is my favorite. Pan con lechon, or like I say, lechon is my second, then pork chook is my third. I like the empanadas, as you guys can see up there. They got a bunch of other things like papazules. Papazules are basically, think of enchiladas, but the filling is hard-boiled eggs, and the topping, the sauce is like a green sauce that they make, with chilies and stuff like that, not spicy at all. They have a bunch of other things like, in the local region out here, they have like the I forgot what this is called, the black one. Yeah, it's so much pork out here. Pork o'clock. I love it. But basically that black, that's also pork or turkey. They got tons of turkey out here. They got turkey lurkeys, all over the place. So basically they cook it. The reason it's black is what they do is that it's a special seasoning that is basically they get a bunch of chilies and spices and they cook them. They put them under fire until they char. They turn to black char, and then they get that and they make it into a special seasoning, and then that's what they use to season like the turkey, okay, or the pork that is cooked in there. All right, and then it gets that color. All right, and that's okay. It's all right. It tastes good. It tastes whatever. It's not my favorite per se. But they got a bunch of other dishes out there. But those are my favorite. If you guys have favorites out there, let me know. I would love to, to hear what you guys have to say. Can you get wild game in Merida? Well, yes and no. There is deer out here. And the local people, Mayans, they used to hunt and eat deer, venison, and some dishes like tik tik bak, I don't know if I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, I don't know, is made out of venison and things like that. So yeah, it's part out here, but again, as the years go by, it is less and less, eaten. I don't know if it's because of endangered species or I don't know. I don't know what the whole situation is with all that. But yeah, they do eat that. They do have that out here. But when it comes to food, when it comes to like, a lot of the, just, pigs, chickens, beef, a lot of it comes, if you get it from the small local butchers, a lot of times they're getting it straight from the farm, so. So yeah. There's people out there, not a factory farm. Now, let's talk about Mexican food for a minute. So what is my favorite Mexican food? Well, my favorite Mexican food, is tacos, really. You know what I mean? Like I love mole. I love all kinds of mole. I love, all kinds of tacos. Tacos al pastor, tacos de birria, tacos de, One of my all-time favorite Mexican foods is that tlayuda, which is like a giant quesadilla / taco / behemoth of a yummy thing from Oaxaca. I crave tlayudas all the time, but it's because of the way that they make the beans is very different flavor, and they put beans in their thing. They put a bunch of other things, so it's just the queso de Oaxaca. If you've never had Oaxaca queso, Oaxacan cheese. It's like their version of mozzarella, like string mozzarella. So good, so awesome. You can get lamb, you can get anything. You know, you can get anything you want out here. But again, it's not like something that's readily available. You know, if you're gonna get lamb, it's probably gonna cost you money, or you probably gotta go out there and get it from the farm direct. You know, or you gotta talk to your local butcher to see if they can get it for you, because you know it's out there, but it's not like it's a readily eaten thing. It's not part of the culture. You know, let's say you go to Cuba or, you know, other countries out there, they eat goat, they eat lamb, they eat all that all the time. But yeah, you can hunt out here. You know, you can hunt in Mexico. You know, just speaking about that, you know, a lot of people do hunt in Mexico, in the more rural regions. You know, I'm not, you know, that's not what I'm into. You know what I mean? I'm not into hunting. I'm not into living in the rural areas and, shooting, animals to eat them. Even though if I have to and we got to survive, we'll do it. But, you know, I'm a little bit of a city guy, even though I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. I can't. I'd rather just have I remember I have a different skill set. So if anything, I'll be like, hey, you know what? You go out there and kill it. I'll cook it. I'll clean it, skin it. I know how to do all the other stuff here. I mean, you go kill it, bring it over here. I'll take care of the rest. All right, don't worry about it. All right, I'll skin it, clean it. Prepare it. All right, we'll do everything else. All right, it's a mutual relationship. So. Yeah, even though if I have to hunt and we got to get into that, I'll learn it. I'm not. But I got so many things going on that's like the last thing on my mind. but yeah, a lot of people hunt out there, and again, when it comes to certain things like pigs and chickens, you're not hunting pigs and chickens. You're basically, what is it? You're raising pigs and chickens and cows. You're not hunting wild cows out there, Not that I know of. But people do hunt like wild pigs. They do hunt, venison. They do hunt, other animals, I'm sure they hunt like alligators, whatever. I don't know. Again, it's not Florida, guys, please remember that. So. Yeah, Teresa says, yeah, she grew up okay, so. You grew up in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, been hunting for 50 years. Yeah, that's awesome. No, so by the way, so speaking of that, like I said, hunting is big in Mexico. I might not be as big, maybe it might. But I mean, it's never going to be, I don't think, as big as in the U.S. They love to hunt as much as they like to vilify that, But at least when it comes to out here, locally, I don't really see much hunting. I see more like raising animals and all that stuff, So, and then, like I said, so my favorite restaurant. So okay, I have a lot of favorite restaurants out here in Mexico. I mean, in Mérida. But my favorite Yucatecan restaurant, which is, what I was asked. Okay, I'll show it to you. Let me see. Is there a website or? Yeah, there is a website. All right. Is La Pequeña Susana. Okay? La Pequeña Susana. And basically is because, in my opinion, they represent, they are, a small family-run restaurant that's been around for a long time, and they are, I don't know, they just make the typical Yucatecan food like a typical Yucatecan would make it, so it's very authentic. So whenever I got friends or family that come to visit and they want real Yucatecan food, I do not take them to the Chaya Maya or any one of those places. Not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just that, you want real food, you come to a place like this. And these are the places been around for a very long time. It's not like a new place. Let's see the menu. And then they have very big servings, a very, very awesome. It just tastes very good. So, okay, so right up here, that's a panucho. Okay, you can see the panucho. It's like an open-faced taco, I guess. All right, and then to the left, it's the tamal. But you see, their tamal is very, very different. I don't know why I'm speaking like this. Anyways, El tamal, the tamal from the Yucatan is very different than the tamal from the other parts of Mexico, and you can see it there. Okay, very yummy, very tasty. It has a lot of filling. Is there a menu? Anyways, I mean picture menu, you know, so I can show you guys. Maybe not. Stupid. Having trouble with my my computer over here. What's going on? There we go. I guess we don't have a menu. But anyways, they have a lot of really good food here. Okay, and you know, there's a bunch of places like this. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. This is just my favorite, okay? And if I were to pick, you know, take someone to Chayamaya or take them here, I would take them here 100%. Or places like this. You know, if they are here for a while, let's say like a week, I would be taking, this is probably like the first place I take them, and then I take them to a bunch of other local places like this, okay? But that's basically it. Is this? I don't even know if this is. Yeah, sorry, my computer not working so good right now. But anyways, but yeah, Yucatecan food is good. Mexican food is freaking amazing. I love it. And, you know, I come here and I found a bunch of other restaurants and places, you know, in the years that I've been here, especially in the last year. In the last years, you know, so we've had a lot of growth recently. You know, a lot of Mexicans that are coming from other parts of Mexico and setting up shop here. You know, now we got really, really good, you know, Mexican cuisine from Mexico City, from Oaxaca, from Michoacan, you know, from all these places. And it's like, yeah. Now we're talking, you know, so slowly but surely we're getting there. Are beef cattle less common to keep in the Yucatan? It's a jungle. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the whole situation is, you know, with, you know, the cattle and the farming and the livestock and all that stuff. But, you know, the reality is that the majority of the protein that is eaten out here is turkey and pork and turkey. All right. And so when you're talking about like beef, you know, now, or chicken even, you know, now you're talking about like a little more high end, high class. And, you know, the thing is, remember, Mexico's a huge country. So there are regions of Mexico that grow a lot of beef, that grow a lot of, you know, they have a lot of livestock, they have a lot of other items. So there's a lot of trade involved, you know, just like there's a lot of things that grow out here or a lot of livestock out here. You know, there's mass produced, shipped out over there. So I mean, I know that there are people with cows and they have farms and they got all that stuff out here, but I don't know. I think that a lot of the beef that, you know, we have out here might be coming from another region of Mexico and so on and so forth, you know, just like they export, you know, turkey. People love turkey all over Mexico, and they export a lot of turkey from here. Same as pork. They grow a lot of pork out here. So, but anywho's, let me see. But you know, at the end of the day, Mexican food, you know, that's another thing I've learned about being in the USA. I mean, sorry, being in Mexico coming from the USA, is the fact that Mexico is it's a very huge country with a lot of regions, and they're all very different. So, like, for example, when you're talking about like fish tacos, you're not really gonna have any fish tacos where I live. The fish tacos come from like the Baja California area. You get what I'm saying? You know, when you're talking about like a lot of the beef production, you know, a lot of that beef production is going to be done up in these other northern areas, you know, where there's a lot more flat land, you know, grassland, desert, you know, whatever, you know, grazing land, or just, you know, land for more beef. So a lot of the beef, you know, comes, you know, a lot of the beef culture, or beef, you know, where they eat a lot more beef, is up in the northern regions of Mexico. And you know this because, again, same as Texas, right? Texas is known for its beef and its cattle. Same thing. You know, look at that. They're next to each other. In fact, they used to be together, remember? Once upon a time. So, you know, that's where you're going to see a lot more of that. You know, and then when you're going deeper into Mexico, you know, you got mountainous regions. You know, it's all mountainous. You know, you're not going to have any cattle in the mountains. You know, you can have different kind of everything up in the mountains, but in the mountains you can grow a lot. You know, there's plateaus up there. You know, there's a lot that you can grow up there. You know, so you know, a lot of, you know, it's a bread basket up there, and so, you know, there's a lot more cattle down here as well. You know, it was a lot more flat, but I'm not too familiar with all that situation. But all I'm saying is that, you know, just like in the USA, you know, each state, each region is going to have, you know, their own, you know, again, each state and each region within the state, and in each major region, you know, they're all going to have their food, their cuisine, you know, their dishes, their customs, their everything. Well, guess what? You know what I mean? Same thing with Mexico, you know? So the Yucatan is extremely different than what you're going to find in Baja California or in Monterrey or in Michoacan or in Mexico City or in you know, Guadalajara or Sinaloa or Oaxaca. And again, Oaxaca is they call it the stomach of Mexico. That's basically where the best food in Mexico comes from. I know there's a lot of debate, you know, within Mexico about that. But again, each region and each area is going to have their own different food, different customs, different everything. And so that's the thing. It's like a big melting pot. But when it comes to like the area of the Yucatan, you can even see how far away it is from all the other parts of Mexico. And then that also comes into play when it comes to the food, you know, and the culture and the cuisine out here. So Ghost of McGaffey says, how much for lunch at the local cocinas económicas? So basically anywhere from like $3 to $5, $3 to $6, you can eat an amazing meal. So for $3 to $6, you can go to cocinas económicas, and basically it's, you know, a family that makes home meals, you know, homemade, home cooked meals, you know, in large amounts, and then they feed the neighborhood. And then basically you come and you say, all right, I want a full ration, a half ration, whatever, and then they just serve you some rice, some pork chook, you know, some roast pork, you know, some little salad, you know, a little plantain, a little whatever, you know. So they give you basically some rice, some beans, a vegetable, a little salad, you know, a little meat, some protein, you know, and it's a full meal, and every single day is different. You know, some days you might get like some, you know, pozole with, you know, blah blah blah, and some other days you might get, you know, it's every day's different. And you can opt in or opt out as to whether you want to eat there or not every single day or not. Some people eat there every single day. Like, let's say there's like a single working man, okay? You know, like some working man in his 20s, and he doesn't have a wife yet or anything like that. Well, he'll probably eat out of one of those. You follow me? And there's many people that eat out of those. You know, sometimes me and Christian will order from those places and eat there, lunch, dinner, what have you. So cocina económicas. So, yep. But I think that's it. You know, I don't know. Let me know. I mean, let's talk about, if you guys want to talk more about food, let me know. Let's see what you guys have to say about the food. So, you know what? We might as well talk about coffee. So a lot of people ask me, you know, about the coffee out here. You know, is it good? All I got to say is the best coffee in the world I've ever had is in freaking Mexico. All right. It's funny because it's like, you know, when I think about just any kind of coffee I had in the USA, no matter where I was, you know, outside of Miami and Cuban coffee, but basically anywhere else, Starbucks especially, it's always crap coffee. It's disgusting. That's why you got to put so much cream and sugar in it. Out here, you drink the coffee black and it tastes like coffee. It has flavor. It has like notes. It's like you don't want to mess it up with sugar or cream or anything. So the coffee is amazing. The chocolate's amazing. You know, it's funny how some people, you know, they refuse to assimilate when it comes to that. They're like, oh, I got to get my ingredients from, you know, my home country, you know, the USA, because Hershey's is better. And it's like, bro, or whatever is better, you know, and it's Folgers is better. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? You know, where you can simply just have, again, just like you have organic, homegrown, you know, again, meat, you know, for anything from chickens to cows, to turkeys, to pigs. It's the same thing when it comes to everything else. So this coffee, it's coming from Mexico. It comes from a different region of Mexico. It'll come from Chiapas. It'll come from, Oaxaca. It'll come from Puebla, Veracruz. It'll come from these places where they can grow coffee readily. Some of the best wine that I've had, recently has been coming from Mexico. And you never think in a million years that Mexico would have wine. But where is their wine country? Well, same kind of region and area as California, in a sense. Remember how California, they used to get laughed at for their wine, and now they're not laughed at. And well, same thing with Mexican wine. They have regions that are very similar. In the Baja, Sinaloa, Sonora areas. They're basically like I was about to say Hidden Valley. No, that are just like the Napa Valley.
Bruh.
Yeah, they got their own ranch, Hidden Valley Ranch out here. Anyways, Crema Ranch. What is my favorite seafood of the Yucatan? The thing is, it's like I'm a little spoiled because I come from Florida, from Miami. We got really good seafood out there. So the seafood out here, as a Floridian, is a bit lacking. The seafood is good. It's fresh, comes from the ocean. But I don't know. I feel like we got more variety. We got better seafood, in Florida. But the good seafood out here, lobster, shrimp, it's good. It's cheap. It's inexpensive. Compared to the U.S., it's fresh. Whatever, fish they got available that they fished. I don't even know what. All the fish I've had here is pretty good. But for example, you got to remember, you talk to a guy that, is kind of well-traveled when it comes to food. So when you're talking about, let's say, like ceviche, I'm like, no, look, I know they make ceviche here, but you're not going to compare to the ceviche you're going to get, like, in the Latin areas in Florida, or you're going to get straight up from Peru, the best ceviche on the planet, or in other regions, of the Caribbean. Where, they die, by how good, their ceviche is. And then, you have, like, the ceviche out here, and it's, like, lackluster compared to, like, cultures that live off of ceviche. You know what I mean? So, to me, it's like, the seafood culture is good. They got a lot of really good seafood restaurants. But, for example, when we go to Progreso, when we go to the beach out here, we basically go to these restaurants that, they're just catching whatever fish, out there, and then they simply prepare it, by either deep frying the whole thing, or filleting the fresh fish and then just kind of like breading it and frying it. Very simple preparations, rice and beans. But again, it's a fresh fish, that's basically it. You don't want anything else than that. And then that's it. Really, to me, it's like that the seafood is good. But it's kind of like lacking if you're used to like variety and you know what you're talking about when it comes to all that, because it's really, you go to the restaurant per se, on Progreso, and it's just like, all right, the fish is whatever they got, whatever they brought, you know what I mean? And there's no like huge culture like, let's say like in, again, Miami or other places where they might have like stone crabs, or they might have catfish, or they might have rock shrimp, or they might have, you get what I'm saying? Things like that. I don't know, as far as I know, nothing like that really exists out here, but at the same time, it all exists out here, So like the same lobster you're gonna find in Florida, Louisiana, and the Gulf, you're gonna find here. A lot of the fish here, same things. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. Yeah, there you go, Delfino. Yeah. So look, I'm not gonna lie. Look, this is a fact. Where I've had better seafood in Oaxaca. And Oaxaca City, that's up in the mountains, and yet they get their seafood from like, it's like a 10-hour drive to the Pacific coast. And their seafood there, in my opinion, was way better. The preparation, way better than the seafood here. All right? I don't know if it makes sense. But again, if you just want simple, really good seafood, you really can't go wrong. You just go to the port, go to any one of these restaurants where you see the live fish, you're scaling it, cleaning it, frying it right in front of you, you're good to go. What more do you want? You got your toes in the sand. You know what I mean? So yeah, Teresa's asking for sushi. So yeah, if you're in the city and you have money, you can get really good sushi, but it's gonna cost you like LA prices, Miami, LA, prices, but you're gonna get Miami, LA sushi. Makes sense? So you can find it out here. It's gonna cost you. Pedro Zapata says huevos motuleños. Oh yes, I love huevos motuleños. So basically, huevos motuleños is breakfast. It's fried eggs, over easy fried eggs, and then they add like this red tomato sauce with some green peas, some diced ham, and I think that's it, right? Whatever. It's beyond good. It's one of my favorite all-time dishes. Oh, and beans. So good. Huevos motuleños, it's very underrated, very little talked about, but one of my favorite dishes, Pedro. Thank you very much for bringing that up. But you're only going to really find it for breakfast, though. That's the thing. That's why it's kind of... And then the thing is that in this region, a lot of Mexico, they love their breakfast and their lunch. And a lot of us, we're more used to lunch and dinner. But if you guys love breakfast and you guys wake up really early, oh man, there's so many breakfast dishes, not just in this region of Mexico, but all over Mexico. Not just the huevos motuleños, but things like the loquibis, which are, again, they're just... like the same kibis that you can find in the Middle East, but the Mexican version, because when the Middle Eastern people came out here and they brought their food culture, they brought things like kibis, tacos a pastor, which is basically a shawarma and things like that. Oh, there you go, Greg Esther. Hey, shout out to Greg. See you tomorrow, Greg. Anyways, hope you're feeling better. But anyways, yeah, Greg is always talking about sushi. He loves sushi. Him and his wife love sushi, and they always talk about Miyabi. So there you go, Teresa. If you want the best sushi in Merida, go to Miyabi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Phil, hey, shout out to Phil. I always see you in the comments. I think this is the first time I see you in the chat. Shout out to you. Phil says, as an American who lives 80% of my time in Mexico, I can truly say that I have no idea what Mexican food is. Yeah, that's true. My wife will make humitas for me, and it's like tamal minus the filling. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's another thing too, so like Christian, she makes a lot of the authentic regular dishes, but then a lot of times she's making all kinds of things that I'm like, what the hell is this? Or I'm even saying, wow, this is something that my grandma used to make. It's like, oh really? This is something that my grandma used to make. So remember, guys, my background is Cuban. So look at the map and look how close Cuba is to where I live. Okay, it's in fact, it's just as close as Miami. All right, I used to live in Miami. All right, okay, so close proximity to Havana, to Cuba, and yet look at Merida. It's about the same distance and proximity. So with that said, imagine the history, the food history, and just history in general that the Yucatan has with Cuba, and Cuba has with the Yucatan, and all these things. So for example, when you come out here, things like the rum, the pork dishes, the citrus that they use for cooking, the guayaberas, the hats, so many things. It's funny, you come out to the Yucatan and you're like, why are these people dressed like Cubans? And then they're like, no, why are you guys dressed like Mexicans or Yucatecans? So so there's a lot of similarities in this region. But long story short, it's funny because sometimes I get a lot of dishes out here and I'm like, what the hell, man? This is like a Cuban dish. They just call it something else and they prepare it completely different, but it's the same flavor. And I'm like, my mind goes, it blows up. I'm like, what the hell? So to me, this is, again, for me personally, why I love this region very much. And even though I might go might go visit other parts of Mexico, and other parts of Mexico might be better in many cases, than Merida. For me personally, I love it here because it's like Miami minus all the bullshit, like I always like to say. So that's why I love it out here, because it's like, again, I remember I'm Cuban, and so there's a lot of Cuban influence out here, a lot of Cuban food out here, a lot of Cuban flavors, dishes, people. I mean, again. So every state in Mexico has their traditional clothing. The traditional clothing of the Yucatan is the traditional clothing of Cuba. So, the similarities are beyond insane. And again, they were both part of the Spanish Empire up until the other day. A lot of similar architecture, again, similar climate. I can go on and on. So to me, this is why, I landed here. I literally put my finger on the map, and that's how I landed in this part of Mexico, in Merida. But long story short, it was almost like as I was drawn here. I was, and then not only have I been drawn here, but now it's like I can't leave. Because it's like, I'm at home, in a sense, because it can't get any closer to Cuba outside of being in Cuba. So, But it's not Cuba, by the way. This is nothing like Cuba. This is Mexico. And it's nothing like Mexico either. It's more like Central America. But it's not Central America. It's more Mayan. But it's not 100% Mayan. So it's like this whole region is very unique. The whole area of the Yucatan Peninsula. The Yucatan Peninsula is, again, the Yucatan, Campeche, Quintana Roo, which is these three states right here. It's really, the Yucatan is really this state right here. You can see the borders, okay? But it's also, the whole peninsula is these other bordering states, okay? And then that's it. Once you go down south, what do you have? You got Guatemala and Belize, Honduras, El Salvador. It's right there. We're in Central America. In fact, this region was always, fought. There's a very influential region that, again, either Central America wanted, or the interest down here wanted, or American interests wanted, and the Mexico wanted. You know what I mean? Same thing. So it's very it's a very important region that a lot of people kind of don't even understand completely. But the longer you're here, the more you understand it. Plus, on top of everything, forget the food and everything out here, that is very unique to the rest of the country, to the rest of Central America. But the fact that out here, you're going to find all the ruins, all the Mayan ruins. So again, people don't even talk about these things. But long story short, just like you're going to find, all these ruins. You're going to find all these ruins all over Egypt, all these temples, all these pyramids. They're all over the jungle here too, even though nobody really talks about them. Also, remember the giant meteor that killed all the dinosaurs? Where do you think it landed? It landed right there. This is it, right there, this spot. This is why we got all these cenotes and we got all this all these underground watering holes. We have all this fresh water in this region. It's because of the giant meteor that landed here and created a giant crater. You're not going to see it on this map, but there's a map out there, and you'll be surprised how big that crater is. So, just FYI. All right. So, all right, let me see. Food is yummy to talk about. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with me and us as well. Oh, and you're very welcome, guys. And shout out to Nancy. Shout out to Nancy that asked me this question. All right, wow, we're already 45 minutes in. All right, I think that's it, guys. So I think we covered this issue as much as we're going to be able to cover it. So I'm going to give you guys a couple more seconds if you guys have any more questions on this topic, but we're going to start wrapping this up because we still got one more question to answer. We got a late start today. Okay? And so the next question, all right? The next question, again, if you want to be here for the next live stream that's going to start in a few minutes, you guys just show up here. Again, why are so many people afraid of Mexico? So again, if you guys are new here, what we do is that every single week on Thursday afternoon, we get together to answer 3 separate questions that are asked by you, the audience. And so again, if you want to know how you can ask me a question, all you got to do is go to my website. Okay. In fact, you can just click on the link that I have in the chat right now, or the link that's down in the description, or in the comments section. Click on the link and it's going to take you straight over here. And then here you're going to find me explaining to you how all this works. You're also going to find instructions on how it works. But basically, you send me an email with your question, and then we answer. We come up to an agreement as to how much it's going to be for the donation for the question. It all depends on the severity of the question. Some easy questions like this are a small donation, and then some bigger, more complicated questions, are, again, all the questions that I previously answered are here. Anyways, depending on the severity of the question will depend on how much it's going to cost. But long story short, we document all the questions, and then I keep them here for everyone to always go back on. And again, you can go back and see, hey, what is the proper tipping etiquette in Mexico? Hey, can I still retire if the peso keeps getting stronger? Hey, is there affordable healthcare in Mexico? Hey, what is, how do I work in Mexico? What if I die in Mexico? Can I go on a visa run indefinitely? Dating culture. Whatever question you want to ask me, okay? I answer it for you, okay? And that's it. We go deep, homeboy, homegirls. You know how we do, okay? We talk about anything and everything on the channel. And then, again, this is a way in which you can contribute to the show. You can also get your question answered. You can also have other people benefit from this. Other people out there that cannot afford to ask me a question. They cannot afford to send me a donation, but they still need help. And now this is a way in which we can all help each other out. And again, I get to help you guys out by answering questions. You guys get to help me and the rest of the audience out by asking the question, giving a donation. And now, again, you get something back, for your donation. Again, and if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do any of that. You can also buy t-shirts or not. You can also just leave a free like, perhaps subscribe if you haven't already. Perhaps click on one of these other videos out here, you're going to find in a second. They're going to be floating about. Or you can do whatever you want, again, but you already know what to do, guys. If you like this kind of content, if you find it, interesting, if you found it helpful, you already know. All you got to do is please like, please subscribe, please share, please the bell icon, but more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. And if you want to stick around, if you're here live right now watching and you want to stick around and watch the next video, all you got to do is go to my YouTube page. Okay, just click on my face, this right here, me and my wife's face, and then just go and then click here. Why are so many people afraid of Mexico? That's the next question we're going to answer. And then I'll see you guys there. I'll see you guys in the chat, and we'll get this party started, guys, if you know what I'm saying. All right, we're about to answer this question. All right, so we're ending this one and we're moving on to the next question. All right, guys, so you already know the deal. Love you guys. Check out these other videos if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys in a few minutes. All right.